You're scrolling through social media, and everyone seems to be at brunch. Everyone seems to have their group, their people, their person, and you're alone. Not lonely in the dramatic crying into your pillow way, just alone, quietly aware that if something good happened to you today, you're not sure who you'd text. If something terrible happened, you probably just handle it yourself. You tell yourself it's fine, you're independent, you don't need anyone, you're too busy anyway. But sometimes, late at night, the thought creeps in, the one you don't say out loud. What's wrong with me? Everyone else seems to do this effortlessly. They have coffee dates and group chats and people who check in. You have acquaintances, you have people you're friendly with. But friends, real friends, the kind who know you, the kind you could call, I want you to know something. If you're nodding along to this, if this hits a nerve you didn't know was exposed, you're not broken. You're not defective. You're not unlikable. What's happening to you is the collision of several enormous forces that nobody talks about. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what they are, why friendship has become nearly impossible in modern life, and what you can actually do about it. Because here's what I've learned after years of studying social connection and working with hundreds of people who feel exactly like you do. The friendship crisis isn't personal, it's structural, it's developmental, it's cultural. And once you understand the real forces at play, you can stop blaming yourself and start building the connections you actually want. Let's start with the most important thing. The friendship script you were given is completely outdated. Completely. And nobody told you. You were probably raised with this idea that friends just happen. That if you're a good person, if you're kind and interesting, friends will naturally appear in your life the way they did in childhood. You'll meet someone, you'll click, and suddenly you'll have this person who's just there. That's not how adult friendship works at all. Here's what actually happens in childhood. You're placed in forced proximity with the same people for hours every day. You have recess together, you have lunch together, you see each other 5 days a week, whether you like it or not. And in that container of enforced closeness, bonds form. Not because you're particularly compatible, not because you chose each other with intention, but because proximity and repetition create familiarity, and familiarity creates affection. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect. We like what we see repeatedly. We bond with who we're around. Your childhood friendships weren't magic. They were architecture. The school system, the neighborhood, the activities your parents enrolled you in, they created the conditions for friendship to develop. Then you become an adult and all that architecture disappears. Now you have to engineer your own proximity. You have to create your own repetition. You have to build the container yourself. And nobody taught you how to do that because nobody told you that was your job now. So you wait. You wait for the magic to happen again. You wait to click with someone. You wait to be chosen. And while you're waiting, everyone else is waiting too. This brings us to the second force, the vulnerability problem. Adult friendship requires something. Childhood friendship didn't. It requires you to make the first move, to suggest the second hangout, to be the one who says, I'd like to see you again. And that requires vulnerability. When you were 7, if you asked someone to play and they said no, it stung, but you moved on. You asked someone else. You didn't create a story about what their no meant about your worth. As an adult, every invitation you extend carries the weight of possible rejection. Every text you send first feels like you're the one who cares more. Every time you suggest getting together, part of you braces for them to be busy, again, indefinitely. So you protect yourself. You wait for them to initiate. You match their energy. You don't want to seem needy or desperate or like you're trying too hard, and they're doing exactly the same thing. Both of you want connection. Both of you are waiting for the other person to show they care first. Both of you are protecting yourselves from the pain of being the one who wanted it more. This is the friendship standoff. And it's killing potential relationships before they even begin. Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that it takes approximately 50 hours of time together to move from acquaintance to casual friend, 90 hours to move to regular friend, and over 200 hours to become close friends. 200 hours. Think about that. That's not two great hangouts and suddenly you're besties. That's sustained, repeated contact over months and months. And here's the kicker: most of those hours need to happen in unstructured time, not at work, not at formal events. Time where you're just existing together, talking, sharing, being. When was the last time you spent 200 hours with anyone outside your immediate family? This is the time scarcity problem. The third force: you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. You have a commute. You have errands and bills and things to manage. You're exhausted. The couch is calling. Netflix is there. Your phone is there. The idea of putting on real pants and going somewhere to make small talk with someone you barely know sounds like punishment. So you don't do it. You stay home. You recharge. You tell yourself you'll be more social next week when you have more energy. But next week you're just as tired. The month becomes 6 months. 6 months becomes a year. And your social skills, like any other skill you don't practice, start to atrophy. You become less comfortable in social situations because you're out of practice. The discomfort makes you want to avoid them more. The avoidance makes you more uncomfortable. It's a spiral. And every time you do drag yourself to something, you meet people who are pleasant and fine, and you exchange numbers, and you think maybe this could be something, and then you both go home and text once, and it dies there because neither of you has the bandwidth to turn a pleasant interaction into 200 hours of connection. Now let's add the fourth force: the comparison trap. You see other people's friendships. You see the brunch photos and the group vacations and the inside jokes. You see people who've known each other since college, who have history, who have that shorthand that comes from years of being in each other's lives. And you look at your life and it feels empty by comparison. But here's what you're not seeing. You're not seeing the group chat that's mostly dead, except when someone sends a meme once a month. You're not seeing the friendships that exist primarily online, maintained by likes and occasional comments, but no real depth. You're not seeing the people who are in those photos, but feel just as lonely as you do, because being around people isn't the same as being known by people. Social media has given you a highlight reel to compare your behind the scenes to, and that comparison is making you feel more inadequate than you actually are. The fifth force is harder to talk about, but crucial to understand. It's what I call the compatibility crisis. You're not the same person you were at 20. You've grown. You've changed. Your values have evolved. What you want from life has shifted. What you find interesting has transformed. And the people who were your friends when you were 20, they've changed too. Maybe in the same direction, more likely in different directions. You might have been party friends. Now you don't drink anymore. You might have bonded over complaining about your lives. Now you're trying to be more intentional and positive. You might have connected through shared struggles. Now you're in different places and the common ground has disappeared. This is normal. This is healthy. This is growth. But it leaves you in this strange position where you've outgrown your old friendships but haven't yet built new ones that match who you are now. And finding people who match you now is harder because you're more specific. You're more differentiated. You're not just looking for anyone who's willing to hang out. You're looking for people who get you, who share your values, who operate at your depth. That's a much smaller pool. Here's the thing nobody tells you about adult friendship. Quality matters more than quantity. Depth matters more than frequency. You don't need a squad. You don't need a group. You don't need to be surrounded by people constantly. You need maybe 2 or 3 people who actually see you, who you can be real with, who show up when it matters. And those people are rare. Finding them is hard. Building relationships with them takes time and intention and sustained effort, but it's possible. So let's talk about what you can actually do. First, you have to decide that you want this, not that you should want it, not that you're supposed to have friends, but that you genuinely want connection in your life and you're willing to do the uncomfortable work of creating it, because it is work. There's no way around that. Nobody's going to drop into your lap. You're going to have to put yourself in situations where friendship can develop. You're going to have to be the one who suggests the second hangout. You're going to have to tolerate the discomfort of not knowing if they like you as much as you like them. Second, you have to engineer proximity. Remember, friendship requires repetition. You need to be around the same people consistently over time. This means joining things, taking a class, going to the same coffee shop at the same time, joining a running club or a book club or a volunteer organization, showing up to the same place regularly so the same people see you regularly. I know this sounds basic. I know it sounds like advice from a guidance counselor in 1987. But it works because it recreates the architecture that made childhood friendship easy. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort. Comfort creates the conditions for vulnerability. Third, you have to practice low stakes initiation. This is the skill that will change everything. Low stakes initiation means making small moves that express interest without demanding commitment. It means saying, "Hey, I'm getting coffee after this, want to join?" It means texting after a good conversation and saying, "I really enjoyed talking with you." It means suggesting a specific plan instead of the vague, "We should hang out sometime," that never happens. You're not asking them to be your best friend. You're not pouring your heart out. You're just indicating that you'd like to spend more time together and making it easy for them to say yes. Most people respond to this with relief because they wanted connection too, but were also afraid to initiate. Your willingness to make the first move gives them permission to reciprocate. And yes, sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll be genuinely busy. Sometimes they won't be interested. That's okay. That's not about you. That's about compatibility and timing and capacity. You're not trying to be friends with everyone. You're trying to find the people who are a yes. Fourth, you have to be willing to be known. This is the vulnerability piece. At some point, if you want real friendship, you're going to have to share something real, something that matters, something that makes you nervous to say. Not trauma dumping, not oversharing, but genuine disclosure, saying how you actually feel about something, admitting you're struggling, sharing what you care about, letting them see past the polished version of you. This is scary because it creates the possibility of rejection. They might not get it. They might pull back. They might not be equipped to hold what you're sharing. But it's also the only way to move from surface level to substantial. Real friendship lives in the space where you're both willing to be imperfect and honest and human with each other. Fifth, you have to learn to recognize green flags. You're looking for people who reciprocate, who initiate sometimes, who remember things you've told them, who ask questions about your life, who make time for you even when they're busy, who apologize when they mess up, who celebrate your wins. You're not looking for perfect people. You're looking for people who are trying, people who show up, people who are capable of mutuality. And you have to be willing to walk away from people who aren't those things, people who only call when they need something, people who are perpetually too busy unless they want something from you, people who make you feel worse about yourself after spending time with them. Friendship should add to your life, not deplete it. Sixth, you have to accept that this is going to be slow. You're not going to meet someone today and have a best friend tomorrow. You're building something over time through consistent, repeated contact. That 200-hour number is real, and it means you're looking at months, maybe a year or more, of regularly showing up before you have the kind of friendship you want. Our culture has trained you to expect everything instantly. Friendship doesn't work that way. It's a long game. You have to be patient with the process and with yourself. Seventh, you have to manage your expectations. Not everyone you like will become your friend. Not everyone you invest in will invest back. Some people will be in your life for a season and then naturally drift. Some friendships will stay surface level forever. That's not failure, that's reality. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just experiencing the natural selectivity of adult relationships. Let's talk about what to do if you're neurodivergent, because the friendship struggle hits different when your brain works differently. If you're autistic or have ADHD or are highly sensitive, you might find that neurotypical friendship scripts don't work for you. The small talk feels excruciating. The unspoken social rules feel impossible to navigate. The energy required to mask and perform feels unsustainable. You need to find your people, people who communicate directly, people who are okay with parallel play, instead of constant interaction. People who don't take it personally when you need to cancel because you're overstimulated. These people exist. But you have to look in places where neurodivergent folks congregate, online communities, special interest groups, spaces where being yourself is normalized instead of penalized, and you have to give yourself permission to friend differently. Your friendships might be less frequent but more intense. You might connect better one on one than in groups. You might prefer text communication to phone calls. You might need more space between hangouts. All of that is okay. There's no one right way to do friendship. Now let's address the hardest part. What if you've tried all of this and you still don't have friends? What if you've put yourself out there and been rejected? What if you've joined things and nobody talks to you? What if you've initiated and been met with lukewarm responses? First, I want you to know that doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It might mean you're in the wrong environment. It might mean you haven't found your people yet. It might mean you need to adjust your approach. But it doesn't mean you're unlovable or unlikable or destined to be alone. Sometimes the issue is that you're looking for connection in places where people aren't actually available for it. If everyone in your yoga class is there to work out and leave, they're not going to be receptive to friendship overtures. If everyone at your job is buried under deadlines, they don't have bandwidth for after-work hangouts. You might need to try different environments. Volunteer organizations tend to attract people who have time and emotional availability. Activity-based groups where you're working towards something together create natural bonding opportunities. Online communities can be a bridge to in-person connection. Sometimes the issue is that you're moving too fast or too slow. If you're asking someone to hang out after one good conversation, that might feel too intense. If you're waiting months to suggest a second meetup, the momentum dies. You want to match the pace of the other person while also being willing to gently lead. After a good interaction, suggest something within the next week or two. If they respond positively, keep that rhythm going. If they're slower to respond, give them space, but stay on their radar. Sometimes the issue is that you're not actually available for friendship, even though you think you want it. If you're so busy that you can only hang out once a month, that's not enough frequency to build momentum. If you're going through a crisis and you need support but can't offer support back, that's not friendship, that's therapy. You have to be in a place where you have something to give, where you have space in your life for another person, where you're not just trying to extract from them what you're missing. And sometimes the issue is that you need to work on yourself first. If you're deeply depressed, if you're struggling with addiction, if you're in crisis, friendship is going to be hard because you don't have the emotional resources to show up for someone else. That's not a judgment. That's just reality. Get yourself stable first. Get support from professionals. Then build friendships from a place of groundedness instead of desperation. Here's what I want you to understand. You can be okay without a lot of friends. You can have a good life, a meaningful life, without a packed social calendar. Some people are wired to need more social connection. Some people are wired to need less. Neither is better or worse. You get to decide what enough looks like for you. If you're genuinely happy with your level of solitude, if you feel fulfilled and connected to yourself and to your life, you don't need to force yourself to be more social just because society says you should. But if you're lonely, if you're longing for connection, if you feel like something is missing, then yes, you need to do something about that. Because loneliness is not noble. It's not virtuous. It's not a sign of strength. It's a signal from your body that you need connection, the same way hunger is a signal that you need food. And just like you wouldn't ignore hunger indefinitely, you can't ignore loneliness indefinitely. You deserve to be known. You deserve to have people who care about you. You deserve friendships that feel mutual and real and sustaining. Those friendships are possible. They're out there. They're waiting for you to show up and do the uncomfortable work of reaching for them. So stop waiting for someone to choose you. Stop waiting for the magic to happen. Stop telling yourself that if you were worthy, friends would just appear. Choose yourself. Show up for yourself. Put yourself in the path of possibility and see what happens, because the friendship you want is on the other side of your willingness to be seen.